Laundromats with wash, dry, fold, drop-off laundry services typically have a minimum amount required for orders they accept. This minimum order amount is enforced in one of two ways. The first and most common method is to require a minimum grand total for the entire order. This minimum applies to the combined total of all items, regardless of whether the items of the order are washed together or sorted and washed separately. The other method is to require each load of laundry that is washed separately to cost at least the minimum amount. The grand total of the order is not included in this calculation. For the purposes of this video, the first method will be referred to as a minimum order. The second method will be referred to as a minimum price. Minimum order is tied to the grand total, and minimum price is tied to each individual line item. Having a point-of-sale system in your laundromat that enforces whatever method of minimum that you use is important because it helps prevent new employees from accidentally ringing up an order that is priced too low. Fortunately, Wash Dry Fold POS now supports both methods. Let's start with a demonstration of the automatic minimum order feature, which, as we just said, applies to the grand total of an order. I already have my customer selected, and I'm going to choose this Wash Dry Fold item that's priced at $1.50 a pound. For this store, we have a minimum order amount set up for $15, so if the order adds up to less than $15, we'll be greeted with an additional screen asking us to choose a minimum order when we click the Next button. I'll choose this item, I'll enter the weight, say 3.5 pounds in this example, and I'll click the Next button. Here we see an option to choose a minimum order. The software does support the ability to have more than one minimum, so if you had different types of services, you could require different minimums for those, such as same-day service versus next-day service. I'll choose 15 for this example, and I'll click Skip on this selected due date screen, and we can see it's brought the grand total up to exactly $15. If I press Cancel on the payment screen, we can go back to the list of items so we can see what's happened. There's a line item that's been added called minimum order, and it's calculated the amount remaining needed to bring the total up to 15. This works with multiple line items. So say if I had another item of Wash Dry Fold, again 3.5 pounds, then when I click Next, it'll calculate exactly 15 once again. The really cool thing about the software is that it knows the difference between laundry service items versus retail items. So what if you had a ticket that mixed and matched between laundry service and some retail items? So for example, customers got a couple of small bags of laundry here, and then say they also wanted to get a lint roller. Well, the minimum order is going to be based off of these laundry service items and not that $3 for the lint roller. So when I click Next, and I select a minimum order for the laundry service, it'll take it to 15 plus the $3 plus tax for that lint roller. Next, let's demonstrate the minimum price feature. When I click the Wash Dry Fold item, I have a minimum price now set for $15 per line item of this. So when I press it here and I read our weight scale, we can see it's 3.5 pounds, but it adds up to a total of $15 for this line. Again, if I press the button again and read the scale again, then we can also see that it's brought this line up to 15 as well. So it's doing it on an individual item basis as opposed to the grand total. Another way of describing this minimum price feature could be a bag minimum or a minimum load amount. Now let's demonstrate how we enable these features on the inventory page. I'll click the menu icon in the top left corner and I'll go to inventory. Here we are on the inventory page, and I can see my item of Wash Dry Fold. If I click on it, that'll open up the item properties, and we can see we have the minimum price set here for $15. If I delete it and leave it blank, then there will not be a minimum price enforced for this item. Minimum price is only available for items that have the prompt quantity or auto weigh features turned on. To set up the minimum order amount, we can create an item that has the minimum order item type selected instead of laundry service. And so that's what puts it into that secondary pop-up that you saw when the grand total adds up to less than the lowest priced minimum order item in your inventory.